Alright, so this is a quick video for the support folks over at Crenado because I have been having an issue with this airplane, the Station Air with the G1000 panels. And that issue has been that I'm not able to use the GPS to navigate, and here's why. Let me show you real quick. Let me bring this up, and I'm just going to set in a really quick direct to a close by VOR, which is the Julian VOR, which is JLI, not KL, and we'll enter that, and just to make sure that we're directing to it, I'm going to give it a direct command. Alright, so now we're directing to the Julian VOR, and I'm also going to make sure I have it dialed up in nav1, which I do. It's 114.0, which it is, and let's just make sure we're got this dialed in to go directly to the Julian VOR, so we do. So that's nav1. I'm going to flip this over to the GPS, which is pointing in the correct direction. Now I'm just going to taxi out to 27 right here. We also kind of bring this down a little bit. And while I'm doing this taxi, just pay attention to the CDI needle down here and see what it does. Normally when I get about halfway down this taxiway, it flip-flops and starts pointing north-south. And I will say that I've tried this at other airports to make sure it's not a scenery issue, and I've tried it directing to other VORs to make sure it's not just an issue with that VOR, and it always seems to do the same thing. Also, I do have the XFMC plugin installed, but I have it disabled right now, and I actually tried this with it completely uninstalled and had the same issue. I actually disabled all of my plugins to see what would happen, and it was the same issue. So just keep watching that CDI needle. And right there, it flip-flopped to point north-south. Now, while I'm on the ground, I can redirect it to that VOR, and it seems to work. Now it's pointing back at the Julian VOR. But when I get in the air, that ability goes away, which you'll see here in just a moment. So let's roll out onto 27 right here. And go full throttle. Keep your eye on that CDI. And there you go. It points right back to being north-south. Now once I'm in the air, I'm going to try and redirect that to Julian. And it'll try, but then it'll flip-flop back to north-south. There you go. You see how it tries to do it, but it can't. Let's direct again, and when I activate that direct, it tries to go there, but then flip-flops back. Now if I go to the nav1 CDI, that up there, it's still pointing correctly at the Julian VOR. Bring up the autopilot. Let's get ourselves a little bit of altitude here. I'll arm that, and let's tell it to direct to the nav. Right now it's on the nav 1, but if I change this CDI back to the GPS, again, it's still pointing in a northerly direction, and the airplane will happily follow that northerly direction, which is completely wrong. Make sure I turn the nav on. So the autopilot's working, it's just following a CDI that's pointing the wrong way. If I change the CDI over to the nav1, that's correct. So I can navigate with the nav radios, but I just cannot do it with the GPS. So that's what I've been experiencing. Hopefully you guys have an answer for it. Thanks.